We said that.
It's a Purple Friday inside the vault. It's the 10th of October, and welcome to a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. My co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison, is back from Texas, and we got a lot to discuss over the course of the next hour plus here inside the vault. If you could, on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership and partner before we get into our rundown. Fridays typically come with early practice times. Today is no exception. Beat reporters are sharing attendance notes, and here you have it. There are 3 absences from the media portion viewing of today's practice. That is Lamar Jackson, making him in line to be absent for the second consecutive week coming up on Sunday against the Rams. Roquan Smith and Devontae Walker. Those are your 3 absences. Looks like Roquan was running on a side field before practice began, according to some on the scene, and Jamison Hensley in this case, whose tweet just popped up on my timeline. That means that Chido Awuzie with his hamstring looks to have returned. And we'll get into like who else has returned as well. But it looks like there's going to be 3 main absences. That doesn't mean that everybody that might practice today in limited fashion, like a Marlon Humphrey, for example, can go on Sunday. But it does mean that perhaps they're ramping up for a return week 8 against the Chicago Bears coming off the bye. So those are your early practice notes so far.
Obviously, Lamar Jackson wasn't faking an injury against Kansas City. Just wanted to reiterate that again for the knee-jerk reactions that were out there. But, yeah, it seems as if reinforcements are on the way. And maybe not all of them will be back against the Rams, but there will be more back after the bye for sure. And that's where they're going to be able to make a run. And speaking of runs, here's the rundown for the show today. Zach Orr, defensive coordinator, was asked straight up to his face, is he worried about his job security going into the bye? Because that's typically when struggling teams make moves. We'll have his reaction. We're also going to talk about how the Ravens defense is getting clowned literally left and right. It's like it would be depressing, but we've been here, so now we've hit the laughing mode. So like we're just being clowned left and right. Going to be talking more about these injuries that we just discussed and others of other guys returning yesterday, and how that might impact things. And then, Bobby, you and I are going to preview the Texans are in the rearview mirror. The Rams-Ravens game, kind of talk about the matchups, what they're saying out there in L.A., and then our predictions followed by quick hits. So a lot to get to today. And as you always say, jam-packed with content.
Oh, you know it is. All week long it's been. Really, somebody asked me the other day, they were like, hey, so how's the start of your season going, given sort of the subpar under 500, injuries, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, guys, do you know what my life is usually like and our lives are like in January? They're like, yeah, because you're like you cover a perennial contender. I was like, yeah, well, it's felt like January since week one, because that's the type of heightened awareness that there is around this team, Sarah. And speaking of heightened awareness, there's been a heightened level of criticism around Zach Orr, second-year defensive coordinator, 33 years young. This defense ranks at or around the bottom in key statistical categories through 5 weeks. They're banged up. They're struggling. They're leaning on youth and inexperience. We'll see if that's the case this upcoming weekend. There's a lot of changing parts, a lot of moving pieces, new faces, new names. But straight up, Sarah, straight up, the media asked him about that very topic yesterday at his press conference, and that topic being his job security.
Struggling teams, it's often speculated that major changes will happen during the bye week. Are you worried about job security, or are you able to block that out?
Yeah, I'm able to block that out, man. I'm honestly not worried about it. I'm just focused on this Sunday. If you probably asked me last year, I probably would honestly tell you that it would be something that would bother me or get to me. But I've grown closer in faith to God, honestly, and I know that He's in control, man. And everything that's going to happen is going to be written. It's already done. All I got to do is go out there and just continue to work day by day and put my best foot forward. And so I'm not really worried about, what happens. I'm just worried about finding a way to get a win on Sunday and stop a high-powered offense with LA coming in.
Are there some strategies that you've learned over the last year and a half to kind of deal with that uncertainty?
First thing, like I said, I think I said a couple weeks ago, stay off of social media. That is number one thing, man. I encourage, if something, if you don't, like what you see on there or like what you hear or whatever the case may be, then, just don't look at it, man, because that stuff can really infect your mind and your heart. But I think, man, just focusing, man. As the older I'm getting, I'm really focusing on what's important and what my job is, man. That's to be here and do the best I can. So this job already entails a lot, man. So adding other distractions, I've learned makes it even more difficult. So the older I'm getting, man, I'm just, more mature and just learning, like, man, I just got to stay focused and stay locked in and block out that noise and just keep my best foot going forward.
You're in a tough spot when you're asked right to your face, are you worried after this game about your job security? Bobby, I did see a few people, accusing him of saying, oh, this is God's fault, or used God as an excuse. That's not how faithful people view it. It's more just an acknowledgement that whatever happens, you're going to have faith and optimism that you're going to be okay because God has you. That's more what that is. I don't like when things go well, you give praise to God. When things don't go well, you say, hey, I know He's got me. I've got faith in Him. So I just wanted to put that out there for those that are, I feel like, twisting it a little bit and saying that he's using God as an excuse. But overall, Bobby, he's saying he's not worried about it. He's remaining focused. What was your reaction to his response yesterday?
Difficult questions, sensitive questions to ask. Commend the reporters for handling it in a professional but also fair way, just as I commend Zach for the way that he handled them. I mean, to me, it's that simple. The results have been the results. They've been below standard. They've been subpar, and they've been worse than last year, despite John Harbaugh's confidence that he's not as worried as he was last year, perhaps. I'm paraphrasing. It's essentially like he thinks it's an easier fix than last year. We've covered that extensively since his Monday press conference. There's not much that you can say other than how he handled it yesterday. And at this point, there's a huge percentage of this fan base that doesn't care about what you say. Right. They care about what you do and what your players do. And unfortunately, it's been a collective failure across the board, not just from ZO's side of things, but personnel, players, coaches, you name it. The defensive side of the ball has been atrocious. One of the reasons why I'm picking the Rams. One of the many reasons why I'll be picking the Rams. Spoiler alert, coming up in our game preview. Because this is an offense, Sarah, that is licking its chops. It's not showing that through the media. We'll get into that as well. They're saying and doing all the right things, much like Houston did a week ago. much like Detroit did, even though they probably saw these glaring weaknesses. These personnel, these players that, all due respect to them, are not ready right now. 5 rookies started a week ago. You had 2 undrafted rookies that were playing significant, meaningful snaps for you. This is from the game notes, that the game release, if you will, on BaltimoreRavens.com. We've discussed this a couple times this week, but I think it warrants repeat. Because while you salute to these guys that are living out their childhood dreams, Sarah, the results are the results. This is a positive spin that Ravens public relations obviously has to do. There's not a lot of them that you could turn to in terms of how you look at this positively. How do you shine a light on your team? You know, this might be shining a light in terms of the opportunities that these guys are getting, but ultimately it's the glaring, it's one of the main reasons that indicates why this team is struggling the way that they are. On Sunday against Houston, as I mentioned, 5 rookies started for the Ravens defense alone. Overall, they had 9 that have played in a game this season. 1,549 combined snaps have been logged by Ravens rookies. That ranks second league-wide only to Cleveland. So again, it's an interesting way of you got to get creative right now. The folks that put together these game release notes, Sarah, I do not envy them, because it's a challenge right now. So anyway, it's your turn, but my thoughts were I thought he handled it fine, and I thought there were fair questions that were hurled his way.
I'm glad they asked. I liked his answer. I thought his answer was perfect. I mean, he's been given a job. He's not doing particularly well at the job. He for sure has challenges with injuries and this and that, but we've all seen this before. We saw it last year. We saw it before the injuries happened. So all he can do is say, hey, all I'm doing is focused on the Rams. And I'm not going to worry about me personally, because that's not going to help anything. So he gave the correct answer, and he's been given a job, and he's trying to do it. It's not on him to step down. It's not on him to step down. It's on John Harbaugh to make those decisions. And as I said earlier this week, John Harbaugh gave us the permission structure to say when people should be relieved of their responsibilities. And that was, hey, if you're not as good as we thought you were going to be, yeah, maybe you were developing, but if you've plateaued and you're not still progressing as much as we thought you would, then we need to switch people out and give somebody else a chance. That's where we're at with Zach Orr. So I have no problem that he's continued to stay focused. He's trying to keep faith. He's trying to work hard. That's all he can do. It's up to John Harbaugh to make a change. I listened earlier this week, The Odd Couple on Fox Sports talk about this very thing, about what are we doing here when you're this bad, Bobby. You've got the numbers right here. When you're 31st in the league, giving up over 400 yards per game, 146 on the ground, 262 through the air, you're giving up 35.4 points per game at 32nd ranked in the league. Third down defense 27th, fourth down defense 27th, red zone defense 31st. Woof. Changes need to be made. You've plateaued in the completely wrong place. Could we plateau at number 15? Anyway, let's listen to The Odd Couple talk about what this means and how decisions need to be made.
To fix this, the DC doesn't get fired after they gave up six touchdowns to the Houston Texans? Seriously. That alone, wait a minute. They scored 5 touchdowns coming into the game all season, and they got 6 on us? Dude, where's your key and clicker, okay? You think I'm crazy? I'm serious about Harbaugh.
I know you are.
When you start holding on to your guys and nobody is held accountable, you talk about players being held accountable, right? Mm-hmm. Where's the coaches? Hey, no way. The coaches have to somewhat be held accountable as well on why this isn't happening and why they're so bad.
You talk about the defensive coordinator who's still safe. You don't have to update his LinkedIn page as we speak. But when I look at these numbers, you can't be this. You can't be last in points allowed per game, which is obvious, as we've talked about. They're giving up points to everybody, 35.4. You can't be the worst defense. Rob, how many yards do you think they're giving up per game?
320. I'm just
407 yards a game is crazy. That's horrendous. You can't be bad at stopping the run and stopping the pass. Absolutely horrific. Here's another issue I have. They lack awareness right now because he's probably thinking, man, Sometimes I hear him talk as if they were a play or two away. Man, we just, we got to tighten up. He's making it like, oh, man, if we got a bad pass interference call, or, man, we had the one bad fumble. No, I just read you the numbers of how bad it is. Also, you know what I think is happening to them? And this happens when you have greatness. I think they've gotten Lamar Jackson spoiled, where the defense is used to, we're going to put up 30 to 45 points. We'll be good. Even if we get down. Me and you sat here, what do we do? Oh, they can go down 0-3. They'll be fine. It's Lamar. And I think the team as a whole and the defense specifically has just gotten used to, we got Lamar, we'll be all right. And that isn't how you operate if you're trying to get to that next level. You should be saying, man, we got Lamar all week. We want to help Lamar. We want to make sure we are that additive to him so that he ever has a bad night. God forbid Lamar Jackson ever have a bad night.
Right.
Okay, so 2 different points they make there. Number one, this is why I can't be angry at Zach Orr anymore. I agree with what they're saying. We saw last year, we see this year. I'm not angry with Zach Orr. It's a decision that John Harbaugh needs to make. And maybe John Harbaugh will have to go down with the ship. And so looking at this here, Bobby, I found this interesting. Albert Breer brought this or tweeted this the other day. And it's not about John per se, but it got me thinking for sure. Albert Breer said, I've long felt Belichick was the GOAT, but now, and he compares Reed without Mahomes and Belichick without Brady. Reed without Mahomes is 184 to 123 and 1. He's got 13 playoff berths, 8 division titles, 1 Super Bowl, 11 playoff wins, 8 top 10 offenses. A lot of that while he was at the Eagles. He never got over the hump, but he did well. Belichick without Brady, 83 and 101, 2 playoff berths, 0 division titles, 0 Super Bowls, 1 playoff win, 0 top 10 offenses, right? So it got me thinking.
You forgot the UNC resume.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's a pro comparison. It's a pro level comparison. But oh my, that's the elephant in the room. Sorry.
Obviously, not doing so well at the college ranks either. Now, looking at John Harbaugh's record without Lamar Jackson since 2018. So when Lamar's hurt or, for whatever reasons he may miss a game. This is from ESPN. Going into the Houston Texans game, he was 4-10 without Jackson, but after the Houston Texans game, he's now 4-11 without Lamar Jackson since 2018, where they're just averaging 16 points per game. Now, to put this all in context, it's not completely fair when you just lose your quarterback like that in midseason. You're not going to have a great record, but 4-11 is not good. It is not good at all. Now, before that, before Lamar Jackson came around, he was 93 and 63. Those early years, right, before they won the Super Bowl, and he obviously had all Hall of Fame players on defense, and then Joe Flacco came in and he played well, but he got a Super Bowl there. So we know what happens after they signed Joe Flacco and things started to go really bad. You had a decent season in 2014 at 10-6, but 2013, 8-8, 2015, 5-11. Joe Flacco was hurt. 2016, 8-8. 2017, barely a winning season, 9-7. Then 2018, they were off to a terrible start until Lamar came in. So he's probably a little bit in between here, Belichick and Reed, right? Maybe not as good as Reed without Mahomes, but he did have a Super Bowl win, but not as bad as Belichick without Brady. Nonetheless, it's right here. Even with Lamar, both of these guys with their great quarterbacks, their MVP quarterbacks, won Super Bowls, and this is where we're at. And so, to me, it feels like if John Harbaugh is going to stick with Zach Orr, that's his decision. But will he be going down with the ship? Will he be taking himself and the rest of the Ravens, including Lamar Jackson? And then I like the last point. We need to be careful with the word "spoiled" around here, since Kyle Hamilton did it. But he makes a point: are the Ravens? He said the defense is a little bit spoiled by Lamar Jackson. Like, well, if we don't get a stop, Lamar will get it done. And remember, at the Bills game, players said that in the locker room afterwards. They said, we have to be ready to go up. We were maybe have thought that Lamar and the offense could have extended a drive, but they didn't. And then they said after the locker room, we got to tell ourselves that we got to be ready at any moment. Well, you got to tell yourself that? You got to tell you're just sitting here waiting for Lamar to go win it when they put up 40 points? No, you got to go do your job. And then the same could be said. Are the coaches a little bit spoiled by Lamar Jackson? That's what we're finding out right now. And at some point, you got to make these necessary moves. So again, bringing it back, I got no problem with what Zach Orr said. He's saying the right things. He's working hard, but the results aren't there. And so that's on John Harbaugh to make decisions this upcoming bye week.
Where do you want to go from here?
Well, we could continue on this, Bobby, if we want. How about the fact that the Ravens defense is getting clowned left and right? It's just not only are the results not there, but now we're starting to see other teams just disrespect the Ravens. It's not even that they don't respect him anymore. Remember, Marlon Humphrey talked about people don't fear us anymore. How about the fact they don't respect us anymore? Check out the Houston Texans receivers. One of them, I believe, being a rookie and is still new to this thing. Remember, they did the Ray Lewis dance. Well, that wasn't even half of the disrespect. Here they are talking on their Wired show in the local media, their local market, after scoring a touchdown.
Hey, what's up? Come on, no! No! What's wrong with him? We on that?
Yup.
Belt to ours. Belt to ours. We on that ours. Like, it's just like, doesn't matter the opponent. We've talked about it. So there's one place where the Ravens got clowned. Let's see.
Well,
what
think
else?
about this too.
Go
think
ahead.
about this from a Houston perspective. I think that was Nico Collins, and you referenced the rookie. Of course, that was Jalen Noel who danced all over the end zone, and then Jair goes back and forth with him. Blah blah blah. For Houston, Sarah, the amount that was like their pride almost was on the line because of how depleted the Ravens were, and what happened on Christmas Day the year prior, and what happened in the divisional round a couple of years ago, and having never won in Baltimore before in their franchise history. So there was a lot riding on this game. And you wonder, the Ravens in the Lamar era, Sarah, as we've talked about, have run up the score before on teams. And you wonder, now that they're in this bare bones state, you wonder if a lot of teams are going to be having that last laugh or not a short memory, right? In terms of what happened in years past. Now, they've never beat up on the Rams. I guess you can go back to the Monday Night Football Jackson 5 game and Lamar's 2019 first season as a starter. They embarrassed them that night, I believe. Jared Goff was under center that evening. But yeah, what goes around comes around in a sense, and they got what Houston clearly was able to give them on Sunday.
Well, how about this? How about also the fact, feel like this one was like an unintentional clown, probably. But Ravens, we just signed defensive back CJ Gardner-Johnson to the practice squad. He was asked why he signed with the Ravens, and he said because it was, quote, his only option. In years past, people were like, oh, the Ravens defense, I get a chance to be a part of the Ravens defense? The history behind this, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata. Need I go on? And just the list goes on and on and on. They're like, what a great moment in my career that I get to be a part of this Ravens history. 2023 Ravens had a great defense. Cut 2 years later. CJ Gardner-Johnson, who got cut by the Texans, didn't want him, not because of talent, but because of locker room issues. How come you came here? It was my only option. Woof.
Yeah, this one blew up for sure. Sam Jane, by the way, what a day for the College Park, Maryland senior. He's interning in the sports department at the Baltimore Sun and happened to throw this tweet up there. When I quote tweeted it, it had just kind of been posted, or maybe it had even been posted like an hour or two prior. I think last time I checked, it has over 2 million views and counting. So this thing has blown up. Good on you, Sam. Congratulations on your internship and everything you got coming up as you get ready to be a graduating senior and whatnot. Maybe he's going to get into the field. But my question is, who needed who more between these two parties? Who needed who more? Did the Ravens need CJ Gardner-Johnson? Or did CJ need the Ravens? Or was it both?
Well, they both for sure. I mean, if this is a real question, I know that you're more talking to the clowning part of this, is that CJ needed the Ravens more. He didn't have a job. The Ravens traded for another safety. Kyle's coming back. And I'm curious to see how much CJ is going to be used, given that they also got the trade from the Chargers. So we'll see. But CJ didn't have a job, but I get your overall point. Is there's obviously more clowning going on. How about this?
Hey,
This is
and
more
along
like,
those lines,
go ahead.
My expectation is that CJ will be called up on game day from the practice squad, and I think Alohi is going to start and play meaningful snaps for them coming up. I don't know if it's going to be alongside Kyle, because I think his acquisition, as we discussed earlier this week when it came to fruition, will allow Kyle to play really all over the place. But Alohi is going to be a big, I would imagine he's going to step right in. He's probably drinking from the fire hose right now to learn Zach's scheme so that he can be ready to play come Sunday.
Yeah, I imagine Alohi will be in there a lot, and I agree with you that CJ will be activated. The question is how much versus Starks, right? Like, how much versus Starks is he going to be? Is CJ going to be coming in on dime packages, stuff like that? That's what I'm more curious about. But I do think he'll be used. But more like unintentional clowning. How about this? Tim
Barbalace, he's a 105.7 The Fan, a friend of mine, and he works on the Drive Time show. He's one of the hosts.
Yeah. So he puts up this stat. Thank you, Bobby. He says, per NFL Pro, the Ravens edge rushers have faced a chip block on get this, only 5.4% of their combined pass rushes this season. No other defense had their edge rushers chip blocked less than 10%. Oh, they're just like, oh, you're lining up with Odafe Oweh and Davius Robinson.
Not a Jabo.
Not a Jabo. Davius Robinson and the rookie Mike Green, KVN. Like, we're just going to bring in chip blocks 5.4% of the time. We are unafraid. Our offensive line will be able to take this. Spencer looked at this PFF chart to the right, and he noticed that Odafe Oweh, Tavius Robinson, and Mike Green are getting double teamed less than 20% of the time and not winning their one-on-ones. Spencer goes on to say, simply hasn't been good enough with the lack of interior pass rush. They need to win inside more to get quarterbacks off their spot if they're going to play soft mofo zone, disrupt the pocket. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Odafe Oweh was traded. Like, where you don't need to be chipped. You're not double teamed, and you're still only winning 20% of the time. So what are we paying you for? What are we paying you for?
This certainly seems not consistent with what Odafe, I think, thought he might have been like victory lapping on in his first media session with the Chargers. You know, we built our entire show around that yesterday when you were traveling back from Texas. And as much as Odafe was an awesome locker room dude, a hard worker, a freak of nature in terms of the physical gifts that he was gifted, and coming off his first double-digit sack campaign, you know, Saad gave us some great context into why those numbers are a little inflated. But he's a good dude, right? He's a former first-round pick that didn't reach his potential. So for him to kind of air some grievances almost and take a parting swipe the way that he did earlier this week when he caught up with Chargers reporters, to me was a surprise. Clearly, he feels a certain level of underutilization, I guess, or issues with the scheme, and he's defending himself in his first couple meetings with the Chargers media. So I'm sure you had some thoughts on that when you saw that we led with that yesterday.
Well, yeah, it doesn't bother me that he defended himself, for sure. And to be fair, the defense is a sinking boat. So now I believe he was part of that problem because he was getting no pressure. Here's the thing. I mean, he can go there, and I'm sure he wants to, have a good foot forward with the Chargers, and he wants to tell them, hey, I'm better than the way I looked in these first 5 weeks. He probably more wants to say, hey, go look at 2024 where I had 10 sacks. And so, I mean, here we're talking about whether or not the defensive coordinator will be relieved of his duties. So do I think it's crazy that Odafe Oweh was like, guys, I'm better than it looked like over there. The scheme wasn't great. Like, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you also have four plus years for us to look at. And so talk your talk, but we're going to find out. I'll put it this way. The Ravens rarely let go of somebody after looking at them as long as they've looked at Odafe, and then they've gone on and had success elsewhere. There's been some pass rushers where they liked him, but they just couldn't pay him. But they thought about paying, like Judon and Zardarius Smith. They just didn't pay, but it wasn't just because they weren't like elite, but they went on and had pretty good careers. Odafe Oweh, they're just trading away. And listen, if he ends up having a great career, kudos to him. I'll be the first to give him more kudos, but I need to see it to believe it first. The talk isn't enough to be convincing for me.
I was going to say, I think if there's if there's another thing that's inflated on top of the double-digit sack campaign, it might be, dare I say, his self-evaluation seems a bit inflated here based on what he was able to accomplish. And you're right. Odafe is going to be able to prove himself right. Khalil Mack is currently injured. They're struggling. Their pass rush win rate down significantly under Jim Harbaugh. They need all the help they can get. So Odafe is probably going to get a lot more opportunities. Guy had been out-snapped by Mike Green for weeks. So he's probably going to get a lot of opportunities there. He's going to have a chance to prove himself right. And the Ravens wrong. We all remember the cryptic tweets from back in March. We'll see. That chapter is not closed yet, although it is in Baltimore. But the Odafe Oweh story, development, evaluation, that remains obviously unfinished.
And whether Odafe Oweh was here this week or not, Zach Orr, when he was asked about Oweh, he said it's part of the business. He says, we just have to find ways to generate more pass rush. We have to be more creative. We have to execute better. I'm very curious how this is going to get turned around. And I know that these two signings with the safeties are going to be a part of that. It seems to me that they're going to just try to be like, okay, well, if you guys could just maybe take on your one-on-one blocks and maybe we'll safety blitz more, we'll disguise more, we'll try to manufacture more. I'm very curious how they're going to end up generating more pass rush. Very curious. So you can manufacture it, but you can only do that for so long. And let's remember, the Ravens now have almost $15 million of cap space now, Bobby. $15 million. Now, some of it, as Brian McFarland has pointed out, because he's the one who ran all these numbers, if you're at $15 million, assuming that the Ravens didn't eat some of Odafe Oweh's salary, yes, some of it will be reserved for those weekly practice squad elevations like CJ, who's going to be elevated as we're both predicting. Yes, you will have future injuries, but $15 million is a lot come week 6. So we'll see who's selling. Again, EDC has to wait to see other teams who are going to be like, you know what, we're going to start selling because we don't believe in ourselves anymore. But I don't recall the Ravens having that much money in the middle of the season. So they're going to have to bring in somebody on the outside, and it's going to have to be more than this. Jeff Zrebiec reported that the Ravens had outside linebacker Drake Jackson in for a workout. He's, if you recall, a former second-round pick of the 49ers. He didn't play last year because he was recovering from a significant knee injury. He had 3 sacks in each of his first 2 NFL seasons, not a ton of production even before he was injured. The Ravens keep picking up guys that seem to have potential, second-round pick, but they are big-time injured. That's not going to get it done. But $15 million in the bank will, if you can pull off a trade.
Well, you mentioned sellers too, and this is my last comment before maybe we can pick up with some super chats. But one of the projected sellers, Sarah, before the start of the season, and heck, maybe even 24 hours ago, would have been the New York Football Giants. And anybody that tuned in last night not only was entertained, but if you have Ravens fandom, you're probably not feeling great about them still being sellers because they looked exceptionally good last night and dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll have a quick hit on that and more. But again, that's been one of the teams, whether it's the Kayvon Thibodeaux of the world that are there, the Dexter Lawrences, right? Brian Burns was exceptional last night. He's not a trade candidate, I don't believe. But that doesn't look as attractive as it, or obvious, let's say, as it might have been a week or so ago, knowing that the Giants look like they're breathing new life in the Meadowlands right now. So let's cut to some super chats. We appreciate you guys for being with us on this Friday. Happy Purple Friday to you all, including our new channel members like Big Jordan 51 and Marty and BSP. Guys, welcome to official VAULTRON status. We appreciate you guys for being here. There is a pinned comment right now in the live chat if you'd like to explore channel membership, whether it's becoming one yourself or perhaps gift giving. Tyler Dixon's in the house, Sarah, and he begins our super chat run.
He says, does anyone remember when everyone in the media was calling out that coordinator for the 49ers a couple years ago, his placement / schemes because of 4 injuries?
I would have to look up who that might have been. They've cycled through coordinators over the years because they've had so much success. So maybe the chat can help us out. Obviously, they've been banged up in recent years. San Francisco has, and they still find a way to overcome it. Now, sometimes they haven't been able to overcome Brock Purdy being injured, but they have been in recent weeks with Mac Jones under center. I know that.
I don't know how far he's going back, but here's the 49ers history. Robert Saleh, obviously right now. Nick Sorensen before that. Steve Wilkes, D'Amico Ryans, and Jim O'Neill, and then Eric Mangini. I don't think you're going that far back. So those are some names. I don't know which one you're referring to.
Tyler, anybody stick out to you there? Thanks for the super chat. Jabbo is celebrating 3 months of channel membership, and he writes, Happy Purple Friday, flock. Thankful to this community for the several months of free memberships. Hashtag believe. Okay, that's cool. So Jabbo's been free riding for multiple weeks. I love it. Multiple months, excuse me. Thank you, Jabbo. Big E3, Rave is in the building on a Friday.
He says, Zach Orr, I appreciate your words, and thank you for being a good guy, but you're still arse. John, too. Matter the whole coaching staff.
Thanks, Rave. Richard's in the house. He says many Ravens YouTubers are talking about defensive line before the trade deadline. However we go as far as Lamar goes, any idea on potential trade partners for guards?
I've been asked this so often, and my response is usually like the supply does not meet the demand in the NFL for quality offensive linemen. I can't think of a team that's like, hey, we have a surplus of guards. Take one off our hands. I was looking into this too. I think somebody had put up like the Cleveland Browns might be sellers, but that's not for like their top guys. So, I mean, maybe there's a guard somewhere that is in his final year and they don't think they're going to pay him of a contract, and EDC can, make him an offer they can't refuse. But where you can do with the Giants and you say, hey, there's a surplus of pass rushers. Go after Thibodeau. Like there isn't somebody that's like obvious that's like, ooh, they just have so many good offensive linemen that they don't know, they can't even use them all. I haven't seen it.
Speaking of the Browns, Greg Newsome II no longer in the AFC North. He was traded to Jacksonville, so that's a big deal moving forward. And they got a talented player in return at the cornerback position in Tyson Campbell from Jacksonville. So that was a quick hit yesterday while you were on your way back. Brimey writes, the weather could favor us / hurt their passing game. There's rain in the forecast. Mm-hmm. Will be a physical rainy game. Last time we played Los Angeles in Baltimore was a rainy walk-off by Tylan Wallace. Here's to hope. Brimey clinging on to some hope on this Friday. Heather McCubbins is celebrating 6 months of channel membership with us.
She says, good afternoon. I watch with no expectations. That's a good way to go about it, Heather.
Probably very healthy. A healthy approach.
Yes. Let's all be Heather. Let's all channel Heather this weekend.
OJ writes, I guess the bank is open on Sundays. Shout out M&T. Maybe this is referencing what many are talking about, including a tweet of mine from this morning. As low as $33 before fees will get you into the bank on SeatGeek as of 10/21 this morning. Don't know if that's what you're alluding to here, OJ. But if it's anything like it was a week ago, on top of the forecast now being spotty, I don't like the projection here for what the bank might look like, Sarah, in terms of attendance coming up on Sunday.
Well, Dre Dog, and then there's rain. Who wants, you don't really want to go into the rain to the bank to lose. And so it's all about, do people really think that they could win? Dre Dog says 4 safety sets incoming. CJ and Kyle will play as linebackers in the box. Malachi and Alohi will play up top.
Robert Smith.
And I imagine Malachi will be back and forth. Not Malachi, excuse me. Kyle.
Robert Smith says if Oweh gets a sack or two in his first game, what does that tell us? Our players did not just fall off a cliff on our defense. I was jealous watching the Giants defense yesterday. Giants of all teams. Yes, they're breathing new life, Robert. Captain Hard is celebrating 3 months with us.
He says we need some hard hitting. I think CJ and Alohi will have turnover-worthy plays with the prayer emoji.
Nice cap. Richard says, sad when we are more likely sellers than the Giants. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Thank you guys for being with us on this Friday. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And as always, you can go check out our new apparel line that we dropped over the summer by visiting thevaultpod.com/shop. This was your injury report as of yesterday afternoon. Excuse me, this is Wednesday's injury
we got
report.
the wrong one. Let's pull up the newer one.
No worries. But what we know is looking ahead to a few hours from now, when the Ravens ultimately put forth their third and final injury report, we'll probably already know what it's going to look like, being what we learned earlier from the beat reporters off the top of our live stream. Lamar, Roquan, and Devontae are your three absences. Roquan reportedly was running on a side field before practice began, and Chido Awuzie, who's missed the last week plus, both the Texans game and practices with that hamstring, he returned to practice after being sidelined again this past weekend. And here is your injury report as of Thursday afternoon. So the second of three. And I'll rip off what I'm seeing here. If you could, and yeah, thank you. Cheeto was a DNP on Thursday. Ben Cleveland, he returned. It was a personal, non-injury related scenario for him, so he'll be good to go. Zay popped up with a limited designation, shoulder, but again, practicing today. Kyle Hamilton upgraded to a full participant, should be good to go. Expect him to probably wear the green dots if Roquan can't go. Marlon Humphrey with a calf, upgraded to limited. Reporting out there from Ian Rappaport, Sarah, a week or so ago, is that both he and Roquan would be post-bye-week returns. We'll see if anything changes with that when the ultimate reports and the final reports, I should say, come out later this afternoon. Lamar, we told you about. Emory Jones Jr., full participant in week 2 of his ramp up from the shoulder. Joe Noteboom upgraded to full with that ankle. He subbed in for Ronnie last week. By the way, Ronnie was a full participant, so that's good news. We told you about Devontae. He was not at the media portion viewing of practice earlier today. Told you about Roquan. Roger was upgraded to a full participant. And Pat Ricard, Sarah, which was new here after John Harbaugh's messaging that was pretty transparent about his setbacks and whatnot on Monday. It said also in the same breath, like, hey, don't expect to see him until after the bye. Good news for Pat. For the first time since August 14th, he returned to practice yesterday. So, again, going to need, I would think, multiple weeks to get himself right. But that was as of Thursday evening.
Yeah, and listen, even more have come back today, right? And so, to your point, we don't know that all of the guys that have returned to practice will play. Patrick Ricard, one of them, that can he really play off of 2 days of practice when he's missed? Has it been, he's been gone since before training camp. He's missed the first 5 games.
Who's this now, Pat?
Pat.
14th, last practice.
The 14th?
August
14th. There you go. But here's the thing. You now have enough reinforcements via return from injury and via new blood that you should be able to. I'm not saying they should be able to win without Lamar on one side and Roquan Smith on the other, and then ailing guys coming back. But you better put up a fight this time. They better put up a fight this time, Bobby.
Yeah, correct. I'm just like, and I'm not saying you're coming across as confident, you know what I mean? But like, you're darn right. That better be the least. That's like the least of your requests, correct?
And this is where we're at. Is we're asking you to just put up a fight. That's all. This is where we're at. And then when I asked to put up a fight, a much understandable laugh came in. You know what I mean? Because this is where we're at. But there better not. I swear on my life, if this looks like a team that's giving up again, that is just getting clowned left and right again. Come on. You're going to have Marlon Humphrey probably back. You're probably going to have some of these guys back in there. You're going to have new safeties. Kyle Hamilton's going to be back. You can't get clowned. This is where we're at. Please don't get clowned. Derrick Henry asking about Pat Ricard, though, and his return to practice. And I'm sure Derrick Henry is glad to see this development. nobody's happier. Maybe Pat's happier. Second happiest person, Derrick Henry. I'm sure he'd like upgrades at the guard position too, but he'll take Pat Ricard. He says, quote, Pat is a big key for us. He's physical in the run game. He's been doing it here for a long time. So to get him back would be big. And we could get back to rolling like we were. I'm happy to see him back there. What say you, Bobby? You think he'll play on Sunday? I don't think so.
No, I don't.
I put him in the doubtful category.
I'm thrilled that Pat has seemingly overcome that final hurdle, hopefully, and that this ramp-up period now treats him well and there's no setbacks, knock on wood, added in, as John Harbaugh said there was initially. To your point, Derrick has had it really, really difficult running behind this combination, and Pat won't fix that overnight. I suspect that he'll be on somewhat of a snap count limit when he does end up getting back. And maybe even he returns with rust, as we've seen from Isaiah Likely. Sarah, his first game back, I feel like this was swept under the rug because Kansas City dominated the Ravens in the fashion that they did. Isaiah wasn't targeted once, and I get it. He didn't play his usual workload in that Chiefs game, but not one target. So there is a level of rust, and you got to temper expectations, I think, because of it. I mean, his injury goes back even further than Isaiah's did. August 14th. Keep mentioning that number. It'll be 2 weeks this week. Now he's back now, so he made it back in under 2 months, or 2 weeks, 2 months. It'll have been 2 months. So yeah, I'm happy to see him back, but I'm just not going to sit here and get caught in the what's the right way of putting it? Like I'm just not going to I'm not going to allow myself to live in this world that one guy's presence, all due respect to Pat, he's the man, he's the best, he's a huge part of this offense. I just can't sit here and get caught in one man's impact right away.
Right. I do think though, Ronnie Stanley being back will obviously be big. I do feel like Marlon Humphrey should be out there
this coming weekend.
I do. He wasn't out for that long. It's not like he was out as long as Pat.
I'd be surprised about Marlon. Less surprised than certainly others on this. Like Roquan. We'd be stunned if Roquan ends up playing because he's been a DNP all week.
Well, he's been a DNP, yeah. But I mean, there's a chance. Kyle Hamilton will be out there. That'll be big. Kyle Hamilton and Ronnie Stanley, I expect both those guys to be back. That'll be big. I think that Marlon Humphrey will have a better chance than Ricard. Same with the Awuzie. And those are kind of like your bigger ones because we know Roquan and Lamar won't be. Meanwhile, it's kind of cool to see the side-by-side pictures of Alohi Gilman and Kyle Hamilton back when they were safeties together at Notre Dame. And then there's a first shot of them together at Ravens practice yesterday. Alohi made it in right away. So you kind of hope that there's still some chemistry there. Maybe. There's your two.
He's got a tremendous amount of experience under his belt.
Yes.
Starter. Why I think there was a value in it for both teams that maybe even were a symmetrical equivalent amount of value between the two teams in this trade is that Odafe is not a star, nor is Alohi. And then we know that there was draft compensation in there as well. But if we're strictly talking about the player-to-player trade, Odafe fills an immediate need for the Chargers because he's going to bring pressures. We don't know if he's going to be able to get home. If he starts being able to get home consistently right overnight, we're going to be like, you got to be kidding me. We're going to have a conversation. All right, we're going to have a conversation.
We're going to have a big conversation.
If that ends up being the case. And then as for Alohi, for the Ravens, he fills a major need for them on the back end. I suspect he might start coming up on Sunday. Like forget meaningful snaps. That's a given. He might start come Sunday. We've already kind of alluded to that. But, these guys were running mates. Kyle's freshman year at Notre Dame, Sarah. Alohi, sure the Ravens have a familiarity with him. He began his career at the Naval Academy, his freshman season in Annapolis, and then transferred to Notre Dame where he finished his collegiate career. He's been with the Chargers ever since. Seems like a good dude. Seems like a well-liked guy, locker room type guy. And the Ravens are going to hope that he's able to kind of turn this thing around quickly, develop a familiarity with their scheme, work closely with his former running mate. He's going to be wearing the number 12. Of course, last worn, I think, by maybe there's been practice squad players that have worn it since Rashad did, but I know before changing to 7, Rashad Bateman wore number 12. Of course, the late, great Jacoby Jones did as well. And then last time I remember 6 being worn was Bo Braid, former undrafted rookie, Maryland. That's going to be worn by CJ this upcoming season. So
your jersey updates there. Let's get to a couple more super chats before we dive deep into this game preview of Rams and Ravens. I believe this is where we left off. Nate Campbell has a solution to all of this.
Okay.
He says, I know what will get us a W. Putting all the Rams players in my fantasy lineup.
Probably would serve you well, Nate. Probably would serve you well. Let's see.
Because either way, Nate, you don't lose then, because if they go off, which I expect they will, you'll probably win in your fantasy. And if the Ravens somehow figure out a W, then you'll be happy with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Do it.
By the way, these were Heather snuck these in prior to Nate. She became a channel member yet again. She also gifted a membership.
Oh.
And on top of that, gifted another membership as well. So thank you, Heather. Happy Friday to you. Couple super chats, couple gifts. That brings us to Richard.
The Ravens says, or Rasmodius says, the Ravens are the guys getting bullied by Nelson from The Simpsons, who's holding your arm asking you, why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching yourself? Why are you punching yourself?
Richard called into my program yesterday, and he didn't have his face on the screen, so all I could see was what his channel name was or what he was popping in as a guest, and it said, sad Ravens fan. So I don't think he's doing well right now. Cam writes, if we don't have 2 new OGs, it won't matter, meaning guards. And Kobe Pruitt is in the house. What's up, KP?
Kobe says, likely not true, but I'm trying to understand Harb's not putting Orr on the hot seat. Do you think EDC told Harbs he needs to ride with the staff he hired and there won't be a sacrificial lamb this year? No, I don't think Eric DaCosta at all tells. Eric DaCosta really isn't John's boss. Steve Bisciotti is. Eric DaCosta and Harbs are kind of like, if you have a hierarchy, it's Bisciotti, and then EDC and Harbs are kind of right here. You can kind of put Ozzy there too, although Ozzy's more consulting kind of guy full-time at this point. So no, I don't think that. Here's what I think, even though I could be wrong. Maybe Zach Orr will save his job this week, and maybe somehow they'll slow down this Rams offense. I doubt it, but if that happens, maybe he buys himself some time. But if they get trounced again, I would like to think that Harb's coming to his aid on Monday or Sunday might be like, well, I'm not going to fire him before the bye, and I'm not going to sit here and indicate that I am. And I don't think he's going to get fired, by the way. I think what John at the most would do is just to have somebody else take over the play calling. But he's not going to publicly announce a week before he does it that he's going to do that. So to me, John's comments doesn't shut the door on it happening over the bye week. And yet at the same time, I also wouldn't put it past John to still believe that they can change this around. And it goes back to that clip I played from The Odd Couple where he was like, either there's a lack of self-awareness, because how can you can't keep saying like we're 1 or 2 plays or 1 or 2 players or what, like you're not that close. You're not. So either there's a lack of self-awareness or he's trying to protect his guy before he actually makes a move during the bye week.
And that brings us to C King, and he says, our team is cheeks, humanity unrestored. Dreams. What's up, Queon, for you?
After this game, the Ravens defense will have given up over 200 points on the season, and it's only week 6. Ugh. And the Titans will never trade with us. We saw that with Derrick Henry.
What's that number, 177, Queon? Is that what it is through 5 weeks that they've let up? 177?
So he's counting on another 20. Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks that at least
2023. Yeah, I think he's right. Yeah. Probably going to be over 200.
Right? For sure. For sure. Thanks, guys. We'll get to more super chats as they come in throughout the rest of the show. Okay. It's time for our Ravens-Rams official game preview. Sarah, coming up week 6, 1 o'clock. This will be a Fox Sports A-Team broadcast, by the way. So that means Tom Brady, Kevin Burkhardt, gosh, who else works the sidelines for them? The great Tom Rinaldi, who we had on our program a year or two ago. Matter of fact, we had him on prior to the Ravens-Cowboys game, if memory serves, because that's the last time that Tom and company called this game. Aaron Andrews on the sideline as well. So Fox is probably thinking, Sarah, man, this is going to be a clunker right here. How did we end up calling this game with our A-team? But that's the case. And Jeremy Fowler of ESPN just noting, kind of a reminder here when it comes to Lamar, more than likely, it's 104 right now, by the way. We're live streaming at the time, and you guys might be watching this later on, and who knows, maybe Lamar's already been ruled out. But the expectation is, in all likelihood, Lamar will not go. Cooper Rush has been taking first-team reps, according to Jeremy Fowler, at practice all week long. Sarah, that brings us to one of the many Rams stars, and on the defensive side of the ball, a guy by the name of Jared Verse. He ain't happy. He ain't happy about Lamar not going this upcoming weekend. Listen to him at the podium in Los Angeles earlier this week.
If Lamar can't play on Sunday, you're disappointed to not get the opportunity to sack him?
I'm furious about it. I want to play Lamar just because, he's one of the best quarterbacks, currently, and then also, you put him in that conversation of not just running quarterbacks, but quarterbacks ever. He's up in that conversation. But, it's also you have to plan differently when he's not playing. We're still going up against an NFL quarterback, still very good. He still can get the ball out fast, get the ball out to who he needs to. So it just brings a whole different set of challenges.
Okay, Sarah, you heard the man, and maybe you didn't hear the question, which was slightly muffled there. It was, how disappointed would you be if you're not going to be able to go up against Lamar for the first time in your career? This is one of the young, great players, up-and-coming players in this league. And you heard the man, didn't you? I'm effing furious about it. I wanted to play Lamar just because he's one of the best quarterbacks currently, and you put him in that conversation of not just running quarterbacks, but best quarterbacks ever. That coming from a guy who, again, will likely have to sack, and I'm sure he'll be fine with it, Cooper Rush this upcoming weekend. And if this offensive line continues to play that it has, Sarah, he's probably going to have a good old time getting to Cooper.
Yes, indeed. Listen, sure he would have loved it, especially since Lamar, as we think here inside the vault, has probably been injured since the Bills game. And he's got a subpar offensive line. And so a hampered Lamar plus a hampered line, yeah, that's got to be a blast. That's got to be a blast. I'm sure you would have been licking your chops. Unfortunately, you're not going to get that, Jared. But what we can offer, is Bobby was alluding to, is a Cooper Rush, who right now, Jared Verse has 2 sacks on the season and 2 forced fumbles. There's a chance you could double that. You could double that this week, Jared. You could just inflate, as many defenses and offenses have done so far this year. You could very potentially double your sack rate right now, or sack total of 2 to perhaps 4. I don't know. Maybe you could get greedy and do more, but that's what we have to offer for you. Not Lamar Jackson. Thank goodness. We need him 100% after the bye before he comes back, which we're just assuming he'll be back at that time.
Correct. More on Verse, because again, you got to familiarize yourself with the opponent, and this dude is a dog. And what a story. And not just because I'm from upstate New York. Guys, he started his football career at SUNY Albany. That's a state school in upstate New York, my hometown. That's where he started his collegiate career. He then transferred to Florida State. He was a first-round pick by the Rams, 19th overall in 2024. Sarah, he went on to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. He was a Pro Bowler. He came out of the gates hot for them. And as you mentioned, he's having a great start to his sophomore campaign as well, including last week. Yes, it was a loss to the San Francisco 49ers. There were a ton of self-inflicted wounds that the Rams made that day. And ultimately, Mac Jones and the 49ers emerged victorious. But what a game. 5 pressures alone in week 5. That tied Nick Bosa as the second fastest player to reach 100 career pressures. It took him just 22 games, Sarah. Joey Bosa, 21 games. Reached that mark in fewer games. Again, just by 21 games. So this dude has all the makings of the next great defensive stud in this league. And the Ravens are going to have to deal with him, not just Jared, but that entire talented defensive front. So look out. It's not going to be an easy task.
Hey, Bobby, when I move over I'm going to highlight some of the guys on the offensive side. When I do that, would you mind looking up the Rams injury report?
Sure.
I'm curious what's going on over there to see if they have any injured players on either side of the ball. But, that's who we're highlighting on the defensive side. There's so much to highlight on the offensive side, starting with their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Bobby, do you have any idea where his 1,500 yards of passing, where that ranks among NFL passers right now?
Upper echelon.
It's number one.
Yeah.
It's number one. He's got the most passing yards so far through 5 weeks at 1,503. His passer rating is a nice number there, 107.3. He's got 11 touchdowns, which ranks. Remember when Lamar had 10 after like 3 weeks? It's all gone down. He's got 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That 11, I think it's ranked second in the league. Just 2 interceptions. And that's why Fox Sports put out a question to their followers saying, who is the best quarterback in the league right now through 5 weeks? And you've got Matthew Stafford up there with all the best in the league. There's Dak. Matthew's got more passing yards. He's got the same amount of touchdowns. There's Josh Allen. Matthew Stafford has 300 more yards. Baker Mayfield. Matthew's got 400 more yards. And he's got one more touchdown. Daniel Jones beating him too. They've got others. Lamar wasn't injured. Who knows? Maybe he'd be on this graphic. But that's how good he's looking right now. And here's the injury report. I'll let you go through it.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell, their wide receiver. He's got a hamstring injury. He was listed as limited in Thursday's practice, as you see there at the top of this graphic provided by Nate Atkins. Colby Parkinson, a tight end. He's been dealing with a concussion, limited all week long. Who else is on this list? Rob Havenstein. Is it Stein or Steen? He's a stud offensive lineman for them. He's dealing with an ankle, potentially trending towards not being available for them. Looks like he missed the 49ers game as well. So Rob is one to watch there from an offensive lineman health standpoint. Tutu obviously is one to watch. Mm-hmm. Higbee, their tight end's dealing with a hip. He was upgraded to limited on Thursday after DNPing on Wednesday. And again, those are sort of your quote unquote household names in terms of what'll mean something going into this week.
So just 2 DNPs there, not the worst, but like you said, check on Tutu because it is a hamstring. He wasn't there on Wednesday, returned Thursday. So, but not close to being the Ravens banged up. And if Tutu can't go, well, you still have Puka Nacua from my alma mater, BYU.
Look at what he's done so far this year.
52 receptions. How much? Let's put that in perspective. How much is that? It's the most through 5 games, not this year, not since he came into the league, but in NFL history. So the Ravens are going to have to contend with that duo of Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua.
Oh, and don't forget about the trio. Don't forget about the trio, baby. Devontae Adams, one of the best route runners that's ever lived. Still playing at a high level, Sarah. You can bet that his presence is certainly a reason for some of this production that Puka's seen. But make no mistake about it, your Cougar is playing at a high level. I mean, he is playing at a high level, and he landed in a really great spot. Take a look at where the Rams offense ranks through 5 weeks under Sean McVay. And again, this Super Bowl tandem right here, right? This duo of Stafford and McVay. They're the second overall ranked group. Sarah, they're putting up over 400 yards a game. You want to know how? Because you already mentioned it earlier on the stream. You want to know how many yards the Ravens defense has given up? I'll mention it again.
400. What was it? 8?
408.8. 408.8. So this has the makings of a cakewalk for Sean McVay and company. They're the 21st overall ranked rushing attack, just averaging over 112 yards per game on the ground. But they have a talented tandem in Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. Blake played his college football at Michigan, and he's also a local product. I believe he played his high school football at St. Francis, and I think all of us know that have lived in Baltimore or been around Baltimore, that place is a powerhouse. It's a breeding ground for NFL football players. Got to love the glazing comments. No, it's just factual, Doug. You'll be all right. 15.
Well, while you're paying attention to that, just to be clear, you said my Cougar. BYU Cougars. Okay,
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
did not call me a Cougar. I am happily married.
Oh, you already said it.
Me.
Yeah, you already said you're Cougar.
Just
Everybody
to
knows
be
you're
clear.
Cougar status.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. Were people reacting accordingly?
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Of course they are. They get their heads in the gutters. 15th overall scoring group. They're putting up over 24 points per game. They're 14th on third down, 20th on fourth down league-wide, and 24th inside the red zone. But again, make no mistake, over 50% of the time, Sarah, when they get inside the 20s offensively, they're scoring a touchdown, 52.4% of the time. So again, this is an offense that is ready to roll. Selfishly, as a fan of just competition, I hope we get to see the Davante Adams-Kyle Hamilton matchup. Davante spoke about that this past week.
Hamilton unique at the safety position.
I mean, he's just a football player. He's one of those guys that's a football player. He's like how Puka is. Like, it's hard to really look at his 40, look at, how high he jumps, all of that stuff, just having a real feel for the game, understanding his role. And, they obviously put a lot on him, and you can see it in the way that he plays. But yeah, rangy, obviously long and, tall type dude. It's a lot different than what you normally see at the safety position. So a lot of challenges presented. He's a good football player for sure.
Great on great, and not the only member of the Rams, Sarah, that was talking about Kyle Hamilton this week. Here comes Mike LaFleur. He's their offensive coordinator under Sean McVay. And Mike is the younger brother of Packers head coach Matt LaFleur.
In the back end, he's at nickel. He's all over the place. And, like you just said, his skill set is he's got a unique size to him, right, in length. And that's, dating back to obviously Notre Dame, no doubt, but like when he was a rookie, he was a problem. I can only imagine he's seeing the game even better and better. Like you just know when guys are instinctual and they're extremely smart and they're in such command because of how fluid they play and they're always around the ball. I got as much respect for him as a defensive player as I do as anyone in this league. He's got all that physical skill set, but he matches it with toughness, being in the right place, and all the things I just said. So crazy respect for the dude.
Coach speak, sure. We hear this every single week when opposing offenses, Sarah, are asked about Kyle Hamilton. And I think the question becomes going into this week, a unique one, coming off his injury and unavailability this past weekend against the Texans. How much can he actually steer this ship? We expect him to wear the green dot device, I would think, which was worn by Teddy Buchanan. Hopefully that should start to limit some of the miscommunication, alignment breakdowns that we watched, and really hopefully just bring a sense of calm to what will probably be a secondary and all three levels of different pieces, new faces coming in and out, right? Can he gel all that together? Can one man do it? We'll have to see on Sunday.
That's the thing, is like what they're saying is true about Kyle Hamilton. The problem is, well, we've discussed the problem up top, but it's going to be a lot on his plate. It's a lot on his plate. And to me, the Ravens are basically going to look to him the way they look to Lamar Jackson on the offensive side, which is like, hey, we're going to need you to play some hero ball for us. We're going to need you to make sure all these new pieces, first of all, you've been playing with a ton of rookies. Some of them will be able to come off, but now we've got you two new teammates. You're going to need to make sure that you're there in the right position. He's going to have to communicate all that. And here's the thing. And I'm sure they're going to rely on him to get some run stopping. Like we said, he'll probably be in the box a bit in that linebacker position up there at times. Sometimes he'll drop back. Sometimes they'll have him pass rush. But he can do all that. If the Ravens don't find a way to manufacture some pressure on Matthew Stafford, none of it will matter. It'll be too much on his plate. And sometimes it'll be him going in there to try to put some pressure on Stafford. For sure, it'll sometimes be him, but it can't be only him. And so he's going to have so much on his plate. Yeah. He's going to have to put on the cape and be Superman and somehow get some turnovers or something. And he's going to have some guys. He'll have Nate Wiggins out there, but do any of us honestly think that the Ravens are going to be able to slow this down? I still feel like Matthew Stafford, there'll be some times it's like, oh, good job, Ravens. You got some pressure on there. But for the most of the game, I think he'll be just like the other quarterbacks, sipping pina coladas and taking his time and being able to find Puka or Adams or whoever else and be able to get some yards.
Remember Kyle Hamilton's alignment spread the first 10 weeks last year before they moved him back to kind of calm things down alongside Ardarius Washington. And of course, this was prior to benching Marcus and letting Eddie go. It was all over the football field. And we know that's when he's at his best. Ben Solak, this was December of last year, took a look at like just how much they asked of Kyle. And it sure seems like, Sarah, given the acquisitions, you start to read the tea leaves, they're going to start to ask similarly of Kyle, as you alluded to. Will he yet again answer the call? He always has. You'd like to think he always will. But like you said, if you're not getting pressure on Matthew Stafford, there's only so much that Kyle, these newcomers, the veterans, and the returning from injury guys are going to be able to do to counter that.
Meanwhile, Bobby, we talked a little bit about the offensive side and Cooper Rush and all that, but what about the Ravens run game? Okay, I'm looking over here, and the Rams rushing defense is ranked 10th in the league. They're allowing less than 100 yards per game. And the question remains is, will the Ravens, Todd Monken said that the run game has gotten stuck in a rut. He also said that about the offense overall. But can the Ravens behind these guards really get the run game going? And neither one of us have confidence that Pat Ricard will be out there this weekend. Feel good about after the bye, but this weekend's tough. The guys on ESPN were talking about this, about whether the Ravens could pull off an upset. And they honed in a little bit on Derrick Henry in the run game.
Hope for the Ravens against the Rams this weekend?
Very concerned. This Rams team, which, by the way, lost in very disappointing fashion last Thursday night, is going to come to Baltimore extremely disappointed after their defeat against the 49ers. I'm concerned because the offense had really no answers last week. Of course, the defense had zero answers. I thought that maybe last week the way that the Texans would approach the Ravens offense is, we're going to stack the box and make Cooper Rush beat us with his arm. Believe it or not, they actually saw the Ravens did a lower percentage of stacked box runs for Derrick Henry than in the 5 or 4 weeks leading up to the first full game without Lamar Jackson. Like, they basically just said, you're just not good enough right now, even with Derrick Henry running the football between the tackles. They're really, really threatened by you. If you're looking for a confidence builder right now, Dan, it's your offense faces the Ravens defense, or your defense faces the Ravens offense. Obviously, the Texans are a great defense. They're number one in points per game allowed so far this year. But because of the injury attrition, I just don't see it against this Rams team this weekend.
I really like this, that a Ravens fan on Twitter quote retweeted that and said, because Dan Orlovsky was in studio right now. That was Field 8 speaking, but Dan Orlovsky's right there kind of nodding along. Says, but these same people who said Lamar didn't deserve a third MVP because of Henry. We try to speak it from the mountaintops last year that yes, Henry helped Lamar, but Lamar helped Henry more than Henry helped Lamar. And we're seeing it. Who's the MVP? Are you kidding me? Who's the MVP?
Correct. But the elephant in the room is the quote, you're just not good enough right now.
You're just not good enough, even with Derrick Henry running. I will never let go of that MVP. I will never let go. But, okay, this kind of leads us into our predictions, Bobby. I don't know if you want to go first or if you want me to go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. Listen, the Rams are motivated. They're 3-2 right now. Their losses this year come from the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was a hard-fought game, 26-33, Super Bowl champs. Not looking as good as last year, but still looking good. They've beat the Houston Texans. They beat the Tennessee Titans. They beat the Indianapolis Colts, but then they lost to a very injured and hobbled San Francisco 49ers in overtime on Thursday Night Football. They're going to be ticked that they let that game slip away. The Ravens are coming off of a game where they just gave up 44 points to the Houston Texans. As much as the Ravens dug deep with these trades and assigning, I just don't see the defense turning it around. I don't see it. The Ravens keep saying they're a play or two away. They're super close. I don't see it. I don't know that they're self-aware enough. Maybe I'm the one being fooled, but I think they're the ones who are fooling themselves right now. Even if the Ravens are able to muster up a run game, I just don't see how this Ravens offense without Lamar Jackson can outscore Matthew Stafford and all of his weapons, and that somehow the run game with these guards are going to get going without Pat Ricard and against the number 10 rush defense. Therefore, I don't think the Ravens are going to win, and I don't know that it's going to be particularly close. I have the Rams at 30 and the Ravens 17.
Okay. I'll go 35-10. Rams over the Ravens.
Woo!
35
I thought
to
I
10.
gave a point spread. What'd you say? Say that again.
35-10.
Oh, you see that 25
35-10.
point. You might be right.
35-10. Sarah, there's going to be players that are playing meaningful snaps that have don't even have a condo in Owings Mills yet. Alohi Gilman is probably in a hotel. When he gave his first press conference in a media
Or
scrum,
on Kyle Hamilton's couch, whatever.
maybe.
Yeah.
When he gave his first media scrum media availability earlier this week, he straight up said, like, dude, I took a red eye in. I'm on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, where I had been up for like 24 straight hours. He might be starting for this team. CJ Gardner-Johnson had no other suitors out there. He may end up starting or playing meaningful snaps coming up on Sunday. You're going to have guys that their injuries will be tested. If Ronnie Stanley goes, that ankle will be tested against a very talented defensive front. This offensive line's not changing overnight. They're not knocking anybody back. They're not opening up any rushing lanes, and Derrick Henry can't do anything because of it. And if that's the case, Cooper Rush is going to be under duress early and often, and that is not his game responding to that. It's just not. Why it worked for him in Dallas was because he was protected well. That's not been the case in Baltimore, even with Lamar out there. Even God-gifted Lamar Jackson hasn't been able to extend plays as he had, and maybe that's due to what happened in Buffalo, like we've already referenced. But he hasn't been able to put on what he typically can when it comes to extending plays. The middle part, there's still big questions. Sure, you can move Kyle up. He can be, who knows? He might be lining up as a linebacker, Sarah, because of the issues that they've had in level 2 with Teddy Buchanan and Trenton Simpson. Can we give Jay Higgins an opportunity? Get Jay out there. All the other undrafted rookies are playing. Get Jay Higgins out there. Maybe I sound like Cole Jackson now. He wants Jay. He's on the Jay Higgins fan club. And I know there'll be nobody more fired up than the great Roy Higgins in this fan base. So 35-10. Take no pleasure in that prediction. Ravens fall to 1-5 going into the bye. Lamar hopefully will return week 8 along with a slew of other players, Sarah, and you have to be in win now mode, utter desperation coming up against the Chicago Bears in a couple weeks' time. That's my prediction.
Well, wouldn't this be lovely? This is the prime time for the Ravens to be able to screen grab the graphic that we have up there, which is all the NFL Network picks. 10 people predicting a Rams win. You and I add to that 12. I'm pretty sure I checked out the Baltimore Sun and several. I haven't seen anybody predict a Ravens win. So that's just setting up nicely. Here's the plate. Go ahead and win and show how everybody was wrong and they doubted you. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's set the table for you to go ahead and do that. So super chats, quick hits, and we can get out of here.
All right. Sounds good. We left off with, man, we got quite a few that came in here late. Let's see. I think we left off with Dreams.
Oh, yeah,
I think we had this
few in
displayed
here that came in. Okay.
Yeah, we had this displayed. So
Yeah, we
Eli
did that.
Sports Guy, we pick back up with Eli.
Eli says EDC and Harbs have got to go. EDC saw our offensive and defensive lines in the offseason and said, we good. Harbaugh also should have been fired after 2023.
Kobe Pruitt is back. I won't tell you all if I make it rich by betting the under on this game, but there will be signs and likely subsequent investigations. KP, Yo Jitsu, celebrating 7 months with us.
He says, I can tell you this. If we lose this Sunday, somebody better be getting fired. Somebody, he says. Keep pushing Bobby and Sarah. We love the vault. Hashtag keep the faith.
You're the man, Yo Jitsu. John Harbaugh's at his normal Friday 1 o'clock or 1:30 in this case media appearance. He said the injury report, of course, is going to tell the story on whether or not Lamar will play. Again, he's going to likely be a DNP all week long, Sarah, and miss his second consecutive
Well, he
week.
was a DNP all week long. Oh, I guess he could have been. No, because nobody saw him out there.
Well, right, but I'm just saying until the report comes out,
Okay.
just
all right. Okay.
protecting my butt.
Okay, I guess I feel safe. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Lamar is a 3-time DNP this week.
You go do that. I'll do the same. Obviously, John's going to be non-committal at his press conference, as you would suspect. Elsewhere, there's been no setback for Ardarius Washington as he grinds his way back from that conditioning Achilles tear from pre-training camp. And now Cooper's at the podium, who never says anything because he's just even keel. So we'll see what, if anything, comes of that. Back to Super Chats we go. Dreams for you.
Oh, Bobby, you missed this one. Harbaugh said he was impressed with how the team practiced this week.
I bet he was.
Yes.
This is actually my turn.
And to your point, Cooper Rush, even when he was signed, was like very monotone.
Yeah.
I think as soon as he can get away from the podium, he's happy to do so.
No doubt. Kuyan says, at this point, put 77 on the defensive line since he likes to look at the quarterback so much. Maybe we'll get lucky and he gets pushed into their quarterback. That's terrible. Oh, man. Scrap Skrilla, the Reelers in the house.
Oh, you said that really well. Says these Nigerian-born players are not good long-term. This goes all the way back to Nnamdi Asomuga. Do your research. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not going to say the whole country of Nigeria can't do it, but they are learning football. It's kind of new over there. So.
Well, the tricky part is you wonder how much of these being late bloomers has a factor in it, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're learning football late.
Exactly. I think that's what you're alluding to. Like David and Odafe, who I believe were high school teammates somewhere in Jersey, I want to say, at a prep academy in Jersey. I think that's why they were like so close.
Definitely.
These guys were total late bloomers because of where they were born. So you wonder if that does play a part in the development. Trey Casey says, do you think the Ravens experiment with Corey Bullock at guard after this weekend disaster? You think Zach will go more zone blitzes with 3 safeties? I hope they blitz the you-know-what out of them because they have to. Jason Smith did a great breakdown of that earlier on in our show from Huddle It Up Films. And then as far as Corey Bullock is concerned, I mean, Sarah, it's hard to take John Harbaugh at his word from earlier this week in terms of like anything being up in the or everything's on the table in terms of potential change. You'd like to think that if there were to be change, Ben Cleveland would be the first up, or maybe we have no reason to believe that would be the case.
Well, Ben Cleveland wasn't at practice for 2 days this week because of personal issues. So if they were making a change to him this week, I don't think that's now in the cards.
Say he missed install day.
So maybe Corey, yes to the 3 safety blitzes.
Thanks, Trey. Olu's in the house. I'll take this one. He says, man, sometimes, Bobby, you sound your happiest when we are down. Goodness gracious. We know how good the opposite is. Glaze much? Mom, clean up. I have no idea what the end of that means. Olu, take off the goggles, please. Give me a break. Olu's back, and he says, I'm just joking. Geez, just a rough year so far. I love you, Olu. That brings us to Dre Dog.
Dre Dog says, DB, 7 to 9 yards off. I'm going to lose my mind.
Nate Campbell's in the house. If it doesn't matter if the run game is working, we'll abandon it anyways. 38-10 Rams. Gustavo's in the house.
Says this talk about quote unquote manufacturing pressure makes it look like you can simply do it if you decide to. Does anyone trust that ZO has what it takes?
Thanks, Gustavo. You've been a new Super Chat donor in the last week or so. We appreciate you for being here. And that brings us to Trey Casey. This might be the changing of guard. Zach handshakes with Chuck, meaning he wants Chuck Pagano to take over.
He's right there. Chuck's right there.
To take over the defensive play calling.
Just give it to him. He's right there. Just hand it over. Right on over.
Lead us into Super Chat, if you will.
We don't have to suffer this way, Bobby. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Okay, as we know, Joe Flacco, quick hit time, is in Cincinnati, and he's there with Orlando Brown Jr., who obviously has connections to the Ravens after being drafted by them, but also his dad playing with Baltimore. And he was asked about his time going back to Joe, and he has some paraphernalia from back in the day when he was a kid.
Remember what your impression of Joe Flacco was like in 2008?
Yeah, no, I mean, he was somewhat the great hope, I feel like, when they brought him in. So, at the time prior to that, I don't know, outside of maybe Steve McNair, I don't know necessarily if there was a quarterback that they believed in more than him. So,
did you ever ask for his autograph or anything back then?
Oh yeah, I got Joe Flacco's signed ball somewhere, guarantee you. Yeah, right? Oh yeah, for sure.
I think mine is signed. That ball I have way up there, which you cannot see, my camera's not showing it.
Yeah,
has both Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson.
Nice.
My last year there, I brought, at the time, Gardner's now 16. Would have been 2018. I don't know. He was like 9 maybe. Anyway, we took him out. My last day there. Oh, it was such a good day. He was running around with the football. The Ravens PR team let him run around as much as he want. We got both Joe and Lamar on the same football up there. You think it's being my son's room, but he understands the assignment that I need the background here for the show. He gets it. He gets
Gardy,
it.
I would expect nothing less from Gardy. Thursday Night Football delivered. Rough day for Philly sports fans, Sarah. Rough hour or two. Not sure if you watched the NLDS, but the Phillies lost a game and were eliminated from postseason contention or the postseason in general in one of the most gutting ways that you possibly can be. They were 1 out away from sending it to, was it the bottom of the 9th, guys? I think it was a tie game. I was kind of watching and doing multiple things at once, but from what I saw, the game was tied and the Dodgers had, was it 1st and 3rd, guys? Was it runners at the corners? Anyway, it was a dribbler back to the pitcher, Sarah, and the pitcher threw it to home, airmailed his catcher. He had all day to go to first base, and the Dodgers won in walk-off on that error. Walk-off fashion on that error. Then an hour later, Jalen Hurts overthrows Devontae Smith, and all heck breaks loose for Philadelphia. They got clobbered on primetime. The Giants beat them 34-17. This rookie duo of Jackson Dart at quarterback and Cam Scatterbo. Is it Boo or Bo, guys? I don't think anybody knows. Seems like Al and Kirk were going back and forth with it. This rookie tandem is tantalizing. They're unbelievable. And the Giants all of a sudden are breathing new life after being looked at as sellers. So I bring it up for that very reason, because they got a lot of players on that defensive front that the Ravens could really help. Sarah, their season looks like it's been totally revitalized since they benched Russell Wilson. Look out for the Giants, man. They look pretty darn good.
Good for them.
Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick and look at this. This is hysterical.
What is this?
Cam and
What
Ryan.
do you got on my screen here?
They ripped off their shirts on the post-game Amazon Prime broadcast. It was freaking hilarious. And by the way, can folks in purple and black, or is it purple and white? What are they wearing this week? I can't remember. I thought we had a slide on it.
Purple and purple.
Sarah, can they seek out contact? Maybe not maybe not Jackson Dart's type of contact.
Where he leads with the crown of his helmet?
Yeah.
Yeah, not that kind.
But can they seek out contact maybe this upcoming weekend?
Everybody but a quarterback. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like that.
Might be helpful to like take a page out of the Giants playbook. I know that sounds crazy because they haven't been relevant in a decade. But can you seek out contact the way that these guys were playing with pride last night?
Yeah. I would like a return to pride. That would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you have it.
I would like a return to physicality. I would like a return to playing hard. Yeah, I'm for that.
How about a little bit of physicality? Because that's what you watched last night. Brian Burns was a beast defensively for them. He had a couple sacks. I mean, they played complimentary football last night. There's still 2 games under 500, but it's looking like there's a new era right now in Giants country. I know it's the NFC, but again, I think it.
No, it does stink though, because to your point, if they're not going to if they're not going to be selling, they got all those pass rushers.
Yep.
That would have been a good place for the Ravens.
Live chat is triggered. Doesn't take much, guys, does it? Douglas and Guy Conger, appreciate you guys for believing in what we're building. And by the way, there is an Eagles part of this conversation as well, because they have not looked. Yeah, they're still, what? Was that their first or second loss? I think it was their second loss in as many weeks, obviously coming off their Super Bowl championship. But Sarah, there's a lot of dysfunction within the confines of that locker room, and that might be the bigger story.
That's why this is so frustrating.
Giants.
That's why this is so frustrating. It would have been open for the Ravens.
In the AFC, that's for darn sure. That's for darn sure.
Well, and the Eagles aren't playing as well as the.
So, anyway, Douglas and Guy. Oh, I can't wait to get my live stream going later on this afternoon. There's not going to be one. There's not going to be one. There's not going to be one YouTube channel safe. There's not going to be one handle safe this afternoon. I cannot wait for it. Physically safe. Physically safe.
Is it
to be
because you're
clear.
going over the I'm looking over at the live chat now. Oh, because they think you love they're calling you Bobby Dart.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Okay.
I'm coming after everybody. Douglas.
I have
and
no
Guy
desire.
Connor.
I have no desire. You give me the Cliff's notes of that later.
I cannot wait. You clearly did not watch, and I'm glad you didn't. You clearly did not watch yesterday's live stream on my personal channel. That's probably a good thing. Okay.
Well, and didn't you tell me that you got into you were arguing with them like a couple days ago too? It sounds like all out war on your personal channel this week.
It's on. It's on.
Oh.
I had Save Day trying to tell me that this Ravens team right now isn't desperate.
Okay.
We'll talk after. Douglas and Guy Conger, I appreciate you guys and we appreciate you both for believing in what we're building. Thank you for being integral members of our Patreon community. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast is how you can get more involved in the channel. You're darn right you're triggered, OJ. And I hope you
but do
join
you
the
guys,
fourth
here's
off
my
today.
question. Are you guys triggering each other?
Oh, there's only one community that's triggered right now, and it's the live chat right now. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Let's run it up.
I'm so glad you're going to do it over there. You
Let's
can't
run that
wait.
up.
I can't wait to not be a part of it.
I'm going to be looking like Scattaboo out there. I'm searching for bodies. Let's go. I'm seeking out contact coming up later this afternoon.
What would be fun is if you just did 60-second highlights of that. That's about as much as I'd be interested. 60-second highlights of you guys.
All right.
Yeah. Going back and forth.
Weird segue. It's never easy to segue on this, but I do want to make sure that we just properly share this from the Orioles, because I know a lot of you that are familiar with Baltimore sports, DMV sports, DC sports probably would have known and been familiar with Craig Heist. The Orioles just announced his passing. He's a veteran sports broadcaster. He covered the team and, again, DC, Baltimore sports at large for more than 35 years. The Orioles send their condolences to his wife, Suzanne, and the many friends that he made throughout his career. Sarah, maybe you can relate. I shared many a press box with Craig over the years, and I joined the Orioles, as I'm sure you do as well, in sending our condolences to Craig Heist, his family and friends, and everybody that knew him. Again, been a tough week for Baltimore over the last really couple weeks. Rest in peace to Craig Heist.
Absolutely. I obviously do not follow baseball very much, and so I don't know him as well, but I trust what you've said, as you've had personal connections with him and all of that. And it's always tough. It's always tough to lose a family member. So love and prayers to his family.
And maybe you didn't even know it during all your years in the press box, but he may have very well been in there, just a different row. You team employees were typically up front, if I remember correctly, up front left when you're looking at the field, or somewhere around that front row, and he was typically behind. So
yeah.
Anyway, best wishes to him, his spirit, everybody else that will miss him. And that does it for week 6 of our weekdays and our weekday content. Be on the lookout at 4 o'clock Eastern for our drop. We will have something for you coming up related to Jared Verse's comments on Lamar. And partner, you and I will be back for post-game coverage coming up on Sunday. Yep. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff, so we'll be live around 4:30, 5 o'clock, depending on how quickly this one goes. And then just a reminder, Sarah, you will be solo Monday through Wednesday next week. Mm-hmm. And we're looking forward to doing something a little bit different on Thursday and Friday. Again, I am out all of next week for my annual bye week getaway. We'll tell you more about this maybe on our post-game show. But Sarah and I are going to have folks filling in for us. It'll be familiar faces. We're still finalizing our overall game plan for Thursday and Friday next week. But we will have fill-in hosts coming up on Thursday and Friday, and you have us in Sarah solo fashion Monday through Wednesday.
We do have Thursday. We have Thursday locked in, but we're finalizing Friday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. More to come. We'll hopefully be able to tease it coming up on Sunday. But the 410 Sports Talk, guys, to your point, will fill in for us. James and Glenn, Jimbo and Glenn, as Glenn refers to his longtime friend and buddy and co-host there. The 410 Sports Talk, guys, will take over the vault on Thursday at noon. So we look forward to that. Partner, I appreciate you in advance. Thanks to everybody for spending some time with us here on this Friday afternoon. We'll be back coming up on Sunday. Join me for live coverage on the Bobby Baltimore side of things later this afternoon. For Sarah, I'm Bobby, signing off from this Friday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership. You can visit thevaultpod.com/shop if you're interested in getting yourself a piece of Vault merch. Vaultrons, as always, we appreciate you. Have an awesome weekend. We'll catch up with you on Sunday here inside the Vault.